All right, in Joshua chapter 4, the first question, how many men were chosen for this task? Verse 2 says there were 12 men who were chosen. The second question, what were they to take from the Jordan? According to verse 3, they were to take a stone each, so 12 stones total. Number 3, where did Joshua eventually place them? This is in verse 20. And those 12 stones which they took out of Jordan did Joshua pitch in Gilgal. Why was this done? It's stated twice in the passage, and explicitly in the end of the passage we have verse 21. And he spake unto the children of Israel, saying, when your children shall ask their fathers in time come, saying, what mean these stones? The stones that are set up in Gilgal. Verse 22, then you shall let your children know, saying, Israel came over this Jordan on dry land. Verse 23, for the Lord your God dried up the waters of Jordan from before you until you were passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up from before us until we were gone over, that all the people of the earth might know the hand of the Lord, that it is mighty, that you might fear the Lord your God forever. The next question, number 5, why do you think this was so important to God? And the last question, what are ways we can apply the principle of this instruction today? I think it's very significant here that God went out of his way to command an explicit means of memorializing this act. It would have been easy for God to just say, hey, tell the people, don't forget this. Don't forget that I brought you through the Jordan River, dried up the waters of the Jordan River, and brought you through on dry land. But more than that, God gave them an explicit command of how they needed to memorialize this. And these stones were to remain in Israel for generation after generation, to come and look and be reminded by a visible, tangible, material memorial to be able to remember this act of God. How can we apply this today? I think it shows here that God puts great emphasis on his people remembering his acts. Now, this is trivial to say. In both Old and New Testament, there's an emphasis on the need to remember the acts of the Lord your God. There's an emphasis on the problem of Israel that they repeatedly forgot his wonderful works. That's why they wandered in the wilderness, because they forgot his works and disobeyed him when he told them to go into Canaan the first time. Repeatedly throughout the Psalms, it talks about the fact that they forgot and they didn't remember his wonderful acts. And jumping into the New Testament, Jesus says that you should do this in remembrance of me. Another similar situation, making a tangible ceremony to help us remember this action, his act of saving us by his death on the cross. This is a concept that the Bible repeatedly mentions, that it's important to remember, yes, but not just remember it intellectually, mentally. It's helpful for us humans who are prone, unfortunately, to forget the wonderful works of God. It's helpful for us to have some tangible means of memorializing these things. Now, of course, we don't want to go to the extreme of making unnecessary idols and thinking that there's some kind of power in the memorial itself. There's no mighty power in any physical thing of itself, other than what it can communicate, what it can connect us with mentally, and remembering and memorializing the works of God. So I think a way we can apply this today, and you can think through your own experience. What are some times when God has done amazing things for you? And maybe you want to do something like this. Maybe you want to figure out a way to physically memorialize that. Maybe in your home, you want to put something up that every time you see that, you remember, that is my reminder of what God did for me in such and such situation. And that is a means of helping us keep at the forefront of our mind the mighty works of God for ourselves.